All right, hello there, everybody. Today I wanted to give you a little verbal instruction on two of the basics. The workout today is going to revolve around the Turkish get-up, and then we're going to do a set of swings. So it's just two exercises, but I wanted to talk to you about some of the technique on those exercises. So the way this workout will go, if you have access to a series of bells, 5 of them, that's what I would recommend doing. So for me personally, I would start my first, you're gonna do 5 get-ups each side your first round. Second round, you're gonna drop to 4, 3, 2, and then you're gonna finish with 1 get-up on each side. Ideally, you would bump up a kettlebell weight after each round. So me personally, I would start with a 35, I'd do 5 one side, 5 the other. I'd jump up to a 44, do 4 each side, up to a 53, a 62, and then I'd finish with a 70 on each side. So those are kind of good weights for me. If you don't have access to them, just practice body weight or stick with your lighter bell and keep your reps around the 5 range. So for the get up, we always want to start on our back. We always want to make sure that the heel is firmly placed on the ground. One thing that's really common with people is their feet are too close together. You need this straight leg out nice and wide, because the first thing that we're doing is rolling onto our lat. Okay, we're not sitting up into it. We're rolling and then using our elbow to sit up in our palm, okay, to get to our tall seated position. So that's a common mistake I see with people. So we're gonna have our wrist nice and tight and our forearm nice and tight, but we want the ability for the elbow to bend, especially when we change our torso angles, because that loads up the lat and it saves your deltoid. Your delt's still gonna work, but it needs to be able to be mobile and move as you change planes of motion as you're getting up, okay? So I'll do 1 on each side, demonstrate it for you, but you're gonna do 5 your first round, 4, 3, 2, and then finish with 1 on each side. So punching knuckles are always on the ceiling. You want contact in the top of the hand. You want the webbing of your thumb and index finger to be nice and tight, and then you want contact down here on the wrist so the bell doesn't roll around. So the foot's firmly rooted into the ground. We're gonna roll onto that lat. Okay, from here, you want about 45 degrees of that palm off of the shoulder. We're gonna push the elbow and the palm into the ground. So we're in a nice tall seated position. Make sure you always have the ability to pull that shoulder down into its socket. So here's where the wideness in the legs comes. You want to lift your hips up, and then if our feet are too close, you're going to have trouble dragging this straight leg through, which is the next move. So having a nice wide stance helps with that. So we're going to pull this leg through nice and slow and controlled. And then we get this knee on the ground. We want to make sure our back toes are dug underneath here. So here's where you want to have the ability to bend that elbow and load up that lat. It's a really great low back stretch, but it's also a really good thoracic cage stretch. So we have this position here, and then we're going to weight transfer. You're just pushing this palm on the ground. You're bringing your torso upright. So now we're in our low lunge position, but we've got to square this lunge up. Okay, so you can either knee pivot with this knee on the ground, or you can sweep step so your lunge is square. It's really preference. If you have knee problems, you probably don't want to knee pivot on that cap. So you would sweep step. Either way, we want a square lunge. We always want to keep this wrist nice and straight. And then we're going to stand up. From here, we're going to reverse lunge back, big step back. That knee goes to the ground. Here's where you want to either sweep step to open up the hip or knee pivot, because we've got a weight transfer. Can't really transfer too well if my heel is straightforward. So knee pivot, sit back with the hip, and then you want this palm to fall in line with this knee that's on the ground. Here's where we want our elbow to bend slightly again. You could slide your top foot out a little bit to make more room. We're going to bring this leg through. We're in a little side plank. Really arch the hips up. You really want to own this motion. This is another common mistake. People just fall on the ground. So here we set our hip on the ground, and we want to return as slowly as we can. Okay. So we put our elbow to the ground. I'm going to sweep my palm towards me. Okay, where Daphne is here, and then my shoulder delt's going to the ground. Shoulder blade, and then lastly, really turn the abs on here, and then shoulder blade. So you do 4 more on this side, switch sides with it, and then do 5 on each side. So if you have trouble with these, do them body weight, or do them with a lighter weight that's manageable for you. So that is your get up. After your 5 get ups, At the end of each round, you're gonna do 15 swings, okay? So this is more of a power swing. When you have a heavier weight, you're putting more power into it. And that all starts with a good backswing, okay? So we hike it, I'm sorry, not backswing, a hike. That's your first initiation. It is your first backswing, but you want it to be pretty swift, okay? So it sets up our momentum coming back forward, because your backswing is what carries your momentum back up the other way. So we'll backswing it. When you hit a power swing, we want to make sure that we're engaging our lats, and it's really helpful to squeeze the handle because your lats and your chest are connected, so you want to make sure everything in the upper body gets locked out. When you're hitting your backswing and coming out of it, you want to imagine that you're jumping straight up, but your feet don't leave the ground. So we really want to avoid any arching in the low back, okay? We don't want that at all. So your hips are going to cut back. You always want a straight line, top of the head to the hips, and then glutes lock out, pelvic tilt forward, abs lock out, lats, and then you crush that handle. When the bell goes up, comes back down, you'll see it float. It's when it transitions from ascension to descension. That lockout in your body is really what creates the float. So that float is going to be more noticeable in a power swing with a heavier weight than it would be with a lighter swing. So there's different ways to do swings. The power swing is what we're going to do today. So I'll hit 15 of those. Another thing I see is people's feet are too wide. This is too wide for my stance. So I would want my feet right underneath my hips because it feels best there. And you want to feel it down the center of your glutes, center of your hamstrings, okay? Out here, it's just more up in my hips and just doesn't feel as good. Okay, so I'm gonna get set for my 15 swings. Make sure my feet are set, heel and ball of the foot. I have the bell out, angled in line with my fists. Pull my shoulders into the socket. And I'm gonna inhale into my hike. And that's 15. And you can see when I put the brakes on, when I stop that ascension, the bell floats, it goes up and the handle pulls down. The bell looks like it's flopping, but I'm creating that, I'm controlling that. So I'm putting that backswing back into my hips. So that's your workout for today. You've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 on your get-ups, 15 swings at the end of each one. That's a 70 for your own knowledge. So get some weights at work. Ask me any questions. Thank you.